new with you, sir?
I ate a peanut butter sandwich yesterday. That was pretty cool.
Oh, damn. Did you have jelly on it, or was it just straight up peanut butter?
Do I really like this? Do I really seem like the kind of guy who would put jelly on a sandwich?
No, because jelly's fucking gross.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jelly is really not good, especially not on a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah, they're like two very different textures.
Yeah, like the only way that you can pull it off on a PB&J is if you put peanut butter on both sides of the bread and then jelly in the middle so that it doesn't get the bread soggy. But then you just create like a double slippery surface with a slippery filling. So it just squeezes out.
There's not enough sticky to
right
balance out the slippery.
Yeah, I swear it's impossible to get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at equilibrium.
Can't be done.
No, I will say I do like a good piece of like toast with butter and jelly on it. That's pretty good. But not in sandwich form.
I just don't like jelly. It's not for me.
Definitely not my favorite. But yeah, with that said, welcome everybody to the Breakroom Nachos podcast. How you doing?
What you wearing?
Who knows? They didn't answer us last week.
Fuckers. I'm trying to get off here. What?
Oh, well, since you asked what our listeners are wearing, and also that you're trying to get off, I will send you what Mike sent to me as his before picture.
Oh,
yeah. This is an interesting one. I think you'll really like it. I'm not going to share this with everybody else because I don't know how widespread he wants this to be, but
this is just for me, boys. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for your eyes only. Oh God, so funny. I'm like cracking up looking at it. Oh.
I'm seeing a lot more Mike than I expected.
Yeah. So when you said you wanted us to have a little bit of a risque photo, yeah, I thought that was perfect and full on in that wheelhouse of risque. So
yeah,
boom.
Mike really ponied up.
Oh God, yeah, that's a good one.
He might call me sometime.
Oh, did you hear that? Nice. Mike, give him a call.
What's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I had a few things happen over the last week, but nothing overly eventful except for
nothing as exciting as my sandwich situation.
No, not really. Although I did for sure want to bring up like a non-joke joke that I told that was pretty freaking epic. God, sometimes you say more by saying less, and this totally fucking landed. So I was in one of my accounts, and I get along really well with the lady that runs the department, and she likes to be like super inappropriate with jokes, and I'm cool with that. And she was telling me that she got this new beer in, but that it was buried on like the back of a pallet, and there was another pallet in front of it. And she's like, but if you want, I'll get it for you. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a try. So she gets a pallet jack to move the first pallet, and it's I don't know if you remember this, but beer pallets are like plastic and smaller than a standard pallet.
Yeah.
So you can't, if there's two next to each other and you put the pallet jack all the way in, you'll end up lifting up like part of both pallets.
Sure.
So she goes to move the first one and she goes, "Oops, I put it in too far." And I just looked at her and go, "There's a joke in there." And she just like kind of like turned her head and started laughing. And I was very proud of myself because I didn't have to say the obvious. We all knew it was there.
Some things are better left unsaid.
Exactly.
Some jokes better left untold.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I thought that was kind of fun. That happened to me on Friday, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yep. Let's see. Other than that, we had a great weekend of weather here. This week has been really warm. It's been sunny. Spent some time sitting outside. Yeah, it was a pretty nice weekend. Yeah,
I'm glad to hear it.
How about you?
It's been nice here. It was pretty warm today. Like when I was out taking my little breaky break, I had to leave the car door open because it was really hot inside the car.
Ah, yeah. You'll have that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a ton going on outside of the obvious, but welcome everyone to Breakroom Nachos 68. Oh my God, Mike.
Yeah.
Next episode is the funny sex number.
It is. Next week is the funny sex number.
Dude.
Oh, God. We got to plan something special for that.
I can think of something we could do.
Well, I mean, oh, there's a joke in there somewhere.
There's a joke in me somewhere.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. Wow, yeah. It's
God,
amazing. It's amazing how many
that's got me so
episodes-
excited. Can we just end the episode early so we can like get to next week and get to episode 69 sooner?
I mean, it sounds great to me. We all just want to get there.
Yes.
Oh man. Well, you had something exciting happen since last podcast was recorded.
What are you talking about?
You had a video come out.
I did?
You did.
I bet it sucked.
Actually, it did. Nobody bothered watching it. No, I'm kidding. Another solid video from you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was a little lengthy, I will say that. But I don't think it was too long.
That's
like,
the
I think,
intention.
Yeah, I think it was an appropriate length. It was just there was a lot there for someone with zero knowledge, but you covered, I think, everything pretty well.
That's the hope. That's the dream. I really had to. I mean, I know I've told you about it. Like I really struggled with like the script writing process and trying to like make sure that everything I was saying was like important and necessary. And obviously there are things in there that could be removed that I wanted to talk about anyway. But for the most part, like I did cut out a ton of stuff that I wanted to talk about that wasn't like necessary to the point of the video. Sorry for that burp.
You're good, man. Everything's okay as long as you say excuse me.
Agreed.
No. Good job on the video. I watched it over the weekend. Like I do with your videos. I sit and watch all of them. I don't want to give too many details yet because I'm not sure exactly how you want to talk about it, but I did jot down a few notes while I was watching of things that I thought were interesting. So,
I mean, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, if the people who wanted to watch it have, and if they haven't watched it, like, they can always just pause the podcast and go do that. So I have no reservations about anything we talk about in terms of the video.
okay. Not a lot of what I was gonna bring up was necessarily like spoilers. There might be like one thing that gets a little spoil-ish. I just kind of made some just general observations while I was watching. But you're at 5,000 subscribers now. That's pretty sweet.
I was before.
Oh, well, you made mention of that in your video, so I couldn't remember how many you were at when it came out. So I don't know.
I was already over 5,000, but it wasn't a lot over the 5,000. I've definitely gotten a good number of subs from the video.
Okay, sweet. How are you doing on views?
It's sitting at about 2.3 thousand right now.
Okay, I mean that obviously sounds like a lot. How is that compared to your other videos that you've had success with recently?
Well, the Berserk video is pushing 190,000. So,
well, okay, I guess in like the first 4 or 5 days of release, how is that compared?
Oh, it's by far the most successful video it's ever been. It hit 1,000 views within the first 24 hours it was live.
Nice.
My road trip video hasn't even hit 1,000 views yet. So,
well, I watched your road trip video, so
I didn't expect that one to do well. It didn't like appeal to the audience I've curated because it wasn't about weeb shit. So,
right.
It also, like, it wasn't like a narrative analysis. It was like its own like vlog style thing. I didn't expect it to do well. It was just a video I wanted to make. But yeah, that video did not do great. But Chainsaw Man videos, I won't lie and pretend that I'm like satisfied with the number of views that it got. There is that part of me that wanted it to get more, but it still exceeded my expectations for its like launch window.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Nice. It's pretty sick,
and
man.
Like I mentioned on a previous podcast, I am expecting it to or at least hoping that it will do more views later down the line, especially once the anime comes out. I'm kind of banking on that. And
you mentioned the video, there's like a part 2 coming out, correct?
Yeah, I think the anime and the part 2 are meant to start around the same time.
Okay. Sometime this year, you said, right?
Yeah, it's like summer or fall. There's no actual release date right now.
Okay, right on. Nice. Now, not trying to compare like video content, or manga content, but between Berserk and Chainsaw Man, which one is generally more popular?
Oh, Berserk by a long shot. Berserk is like it's like a genre defining, super well known, super emulated manga. In fact, the author of Chainsaw Man has himself voiced inspiration coming from Berserk. So,
oh, nice. Okay, yeah, I was just kind of curious, just how that would affect like the number of views it got like from the beginning.
Yeah, so that was a part of it as well. Like Chainsaw Man, like I mentioned, it is known, but it's not like super well known. Like, and this obviously isn't the best measure of how known something is, but I'm part of both the One Piece and Chainsaw Man subreddits, and the One Piece subreddit has over 1 million members, and the Chainsaw Man subreddit doesn't even have 200,000. So.
Okay, what about, is there a Berserk subreddit?
There is. I can look up right now where it's at, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Like I do the other two.
Yeah.
But So like I said, there was that part of me that wanted it to do better. So the Berserk is sitting at 320,000.
Okay. Well,
Which is like twice where the Chainsaw Man one is at.
Well, but then I guess that's good that you've got more views in the first 24 hours.
Well, that's definitely due in large part to the audience I built, because a lot of people who are into Berserk are also into Chainsaw Man, and also again a lot of people who have subbed are subbing for my manga related content.
I gotcha. Well,
but I mean, obviously I'll say right now, I don't mind continuing to talk about this, but obviously view count is not the only measure of success, but my expectation, it's not what I wanted, but my expectation was that it would hit around 1,000 views and it would just plateau at that point until the anime came out. And then once the anime comes out, I expect that to bring in a whole bunch of people looking for Chainsaw Man related content, because I fully expect it to blow up in popularity once the anime comes out. And at that point, that's kind of when I'm expecting it to do a lot of its views. So for it to have done more than twice that amount, it's still really good in my mind.
Yeah. And I was going to say, again, view count isn't necessarily the greatest judge of success, but I think it's saying a lot about you and your video quality and the following that you've built, that you managed to achieve more views right off the bat with a manga that's not as popular. So you're not just banking off of people watching it that don't know you because of the subject,
Yeah, I would definitely say it's great to see how many people are commenting and saying that I had a bunch of people right when the video dropped be like, wake up honey, another banger from Captain Mack in the comments, and that was super awesome.
Nice, good job.
Yeah. People in the comments have been super nice. A lot of them are super supportive about it. I haven't seen a single negative comment yet, and I'm dreading the day that I do.
They happen, and I mean, as well as anyone, you just have to ignore those.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's not like every mean comment is entirely just shitty. There are ones in there that have legitimate criticism that I do look at, that I think about, but the thing about YouTube comments is the ones that are the most hurtful are also the ones that are the most true. The mean comments that criticize my videos that hurt me the most are the ones that point out things that I am self-conscious about already,
Right, I gotcha.
But like I said, haven't seen any of that yet. Seen a lot of support for the video, seen a lot of people, saying that I can't believe this guy's only at 5,000 subscribers kind of thing and stuff like that. And I don't, whenever somebody has one video that goes viral, quote unquote, the fear as a creator, it feels good to have that happen, obviously, but the fear as a creator is that you won't be able to replicate that.
Right.
And you see that all the time. You click on a clip on YouTube and it's got 3 million views, but then the channel itself only has 500 subscribers, and you look on their channel and none of their videos push past 1,000 views. And so even though it's not at this time on the same success level as the Berserk video, it still says to me, the response that it's getting still says to me that this is replicatable. These people aren't there for one video. They recognize that I'm capable of, doing it again, essentially.
Yeah.
And that feels good too. There's a lot of things to be happy about. I'm really happy with I don't want to make it sound I do want it to get more views, but I'm very pleased with how it's doing so far.
Good.
And I think it's indicative of good things.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's see a few things that I made notes about. First of all, I love that you made the DuckTales reference about the gold coin. That was pretty sweet.
I had a feeling you'd like that. I had a feeling you'd call that out.
Yeah. I mean, we're both pretty big DuckTales fans, and so like I was kind of working on something for work while I had it on, and I was like, hold on, I need to go back. I think he just made a DuckTales drop, and sure enough, there was Uncle Scrooge jumping in the money bin. So that was pretty sweet. And then the only other like goofy, like not really content related thing is I noticed that from the video to you in the video and you in your like outro portion, your hair is drastically different.
It is. I'm actually surprised you haven't never mentioned anything about that since you've seen it on stream too.
Yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just because I saw like your hair one way and then it was like drastically different. I'm assuming you would just washed it or something.
No, I've been doing my hair differently.
Oh, really? Okay. Huh. All right, it's a little less crazy, a little more tame.
It's less frizzy, but like more curly. There's more like curl groups is the term I've learned. I'm learning more about how to operate my hair.
Right on, man. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to make a huge deal about your hair, but it was a pretty drastic difference between like beginning, middle, and end of the video. So
I gotcha.
Yeah. As far as actual video content goes, man, that Denji and his kissing on the ladies, he had some real shit luck there, didn't he?
Oh boy, did he.
Oh,
my man just wants to pucker up them lips, but everybody wants to fucking throw up in his mouth or rip out his tongue.
Yeah, that fucking sucks.
The big F for our lad Denji.
Yeah, huge F for that. God.
I'm curious to hear like what you like. Not outside of my video, what do you think of Chainsaw Man now that you have a much deeper understanding of it?
It's interesting. There was a lot of information because I knew nothing about it.
Yes.
Had I known a little more, your video probably would have been super helpful because it would have been like, oh, hey, like I read about this and Mack totally cleared up something that I wasn't sure about.
But yeah, I've gotten a lot of comments from people being like, oh, that makes so much more sense now that you've like explained this part out.
Yeah.
But for like an outside viewer, it's kind of like me just being like, this is what happens.
Right. There's a lot of devils involved.
Well, that's kind of the theme of that's kind of a big part of the show.
Yeah.
Or of the manga.
No, I mean it's interesting. Not something I would read, but
No, I wouldn't think so.
No, but I mean I also don't read anything. So there's that.
Actually, Mike doesn't know how to read. We talked about this actually.
Yeah, I don't know how to read. I only know numbers, and even then
it's pretty hit or miss.
It's only up to 6, so I mean,
yeah, you really got to work on that.
Yeah, I will say it seems pretty original.
Oh, it's very original.
I don't, I can't think of anything that super compares to that. Yeah, you said I know, like in the beginning, it's interesting that, like are both of his parents dead or just his dad?
Both his parents are dead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was like right off the bat, and they like you said they don't go. there isn't like an opening scene where his parents like get killed, correct?
Yes, which is a very common trope in anime or manga.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of big in a lot of things, like Batman's
It is,
way.
but like it's a really big thing in anime or manga. Like there's like a whole meme about how anime protagonists just don't have parents most of the time.
Okay.
Like One Piece, like the main character of One Piece, his dad is just a total deadbeat, and his mom, we don't even know who his mom is. It's constantly being theorized about.
Huh. Okay. It's kind of like all like the Disney animated movies. Like, I know it's a thing, but have you ever noticed that like in Disney movies there's never like two parents?
I hadn't thought about it, but you're right. I mean, there's the whole like, I feel like every princess character has some kind of parental issue.
Yeah, like they're either living with like an evil stepsister or stepmother, or like Simba's dad gets killed and Bambi's
Whoa,
mom
dude,
gets...
Lion King spoilers. What the fuck?
Oh, brah. That movie's like creeping up on 30 years. I think we're good.
You know I haven't seen that movie.
Well, that happens very early in the movie, so you're all right. But I mean, like Bambi, Nemo, like they're all one
deaths.
Yeah. It's really interesting that not trying to get off of the topic of your video, but
no, we're fine. Go wherever we want, dude. It's a podcast. We can do that.
yeah, I guess that's true. It's just really interesting that how like at least on the surface, how wholesome and like family friendly Disney tries to portray themselves, and then all of their stories just involve like broken families.
It's true.
Yeah. Apparently it works.
I think it's because like your developmental years is so important to who you end up being, and so your environment is a huge part of that.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's an easy, like, or not really easy per se, but just it's, you know, if you're missing a parent, or your parent isn't particularly like a good parent, or your parental figure isn't acting the way that parents should be, that's going to have a huge impact on you as a person. And that's something that kind of creates a lot of the characters that we see in media.
Yeah. The Disney thing is weird. Like they just keep popping into my head and I can't think of any of them that come from like a 2-parent family. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Little Mermaid only had a dad. Aladdin, he was just a drifter, and Jasmine only had a dad. Good on those single dads, though. Am I right?
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get it, single dads.
Right? Those are some real gamer dads there.
For sure.
This kind of ties into talking movies and your video. You and I have debated the topic of bad movies, and I like that you brought that was part of the Chainsaw Man video.
Yeah, well, it's an important part of the manga as a whole.
Yeah, sorry, not to confuse any of you who haven't listened or watched the video yet. Mack doesn't actually talk about him and I debating movies. It's just
it's an important like theme in the manga, so I talk about it.
Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, "Holy crap! That's very relatable."
Hashtag relatable. Let's go, boys.
Because what's the line? Is it like only like 1 in 10 movies is good, so you appreciate it, or something like that?
You have to watch 9 movies to truly appreciate. You have to watch 9 bad movies to truly appreciate one good one.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, I was pretty close. 1 out of 10. Watch 9 to appreciate 1. Same numbers.
No, I mean, you had the right idea. It just wasn't exact. I know exactly what I said because I wrote the script and went over it a million times.
Sure. But no, I mean, I think that really holds true. Not trying to get like too deep with life in general, but I mean, it's kind of how like good days and bad days work. Like, we'd all love to have like a great day every single day. But at some point, unless you have a day that's not great, they just become
boring.
They're just average days at that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was kind of the metaphor that not only the manga, but I was putting forth was that, what that exchange towards the end of the story is really saying. It's, it's not actually about movies. Like it is, but it isn't. It's right. More about how, if Makima were to eliminate everything bad, then life wouldn't be enjoyable anymore. You wouldn't know what's good.
Right? Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, and bad days suck, but they really help you appreciate the good ones, that's for sure.
For sure.
Nice. Well, that's pretty sick, man. Good job.
Yeah, I will say too, like, I've talked about this before a little bit in relation to other videos. I talked about this bit when I came to my Berserk video because I feel like I did a good job with it. Like, early on in my videos, I really struggled with creating like a solid through line where stuff that I talked about at the beginning was still relevant towards the end. And that's something I feel like I really, really managed to achieve in this one is like, I talk about things at the beginning or in the middle or whatever that like circled back at the end and were super important. And I'm really proud of myself for that aspect of the script.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good part of like storytelling. And even though you're not the one telling the story of Chainsaw Man, you're telling your own thoughts and opinions and your own view on it. So it's
right.
It's your telling of the story.
Right. And like I alter the flow of the story for the sake of my own, like making parts of my script like stronger. Like you wouldn't know this obviously because you haven't actually read Chainsaw Man, but I have a part at the very beginning where I talk about like Denji facing off against Makima, like not even a full minute into the video, and how he like gets defeated and gets his heart ripped out, and then I cut back to the beginning. That's not how the order of events goes in the manga. Like that is an end scene that I put at the beginning.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Because I wanted to circle back to like that question and its importance. So I wanted to have it in people's brains at the very beginning.
Nice. Good on you. I like that. You're quite the story spinner.
Well, I'm getting better at it, I think.
Yeah. I know you've said you have some ideas, and I'm sure you don't want to give anything away, but do you have an idea at least that you're keeping private for what your next video is going to be about?
I do, yeah. So obviously we've talked quite a bit about, my next big project is going to be my video where I talk about all of the From Software games, but that's not going to be my next video. I want to take a break from like the big, long, giant videos and do something else. And I do know what that next video is going to be, but it's not anything I'm going to reveal. Mostly because the subject of it is so absurd that I want to catch people by surprise.
Okay.
I think you'll love it. I think you'll think it's hilarious just when you find out what it is.
Okay, good. Well, I'm looking forward to that then. Obviously, I'm assuming it's not going to be ready anytime soon, but do you have like any kind of estimated timetable for when you want that to come out?
God, no, I haven't even started the script.
Well, I mean, I didn't think so, but I mean, you're working on what, like every 6 months you're putting out a long video.
That's not necessarily the goal. Just my only real goal is to always be working on something. So,
okay.
I don't have a goal in terms of releasing a video as long as I know that I'm always working on it.
Nice. Well, that works. Just always keep working. Right on, man. Just don't get yourself burned out again.
No, that's why I'm not doing another really long video right away, because like this one was taking so long that towards the end of it, I was like, God, I just want this to be done, and not in a bad way per se. It was just like I was ready to have it out. I was ready for people to see it, yet there was like still so much work to be done on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you there. I kind of get a little impatient with things that take too long. Even though like even if I'm enjoying the process, sometimes I just want it to be like done and complete, you know?
Yes, that's a big thing with my videos, especially just because of how long it had been since I got a video out. Like, it doesn't bother me too much, but it does bother me a little. Like, I want to get videos out, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. That's good. I'm glad that this is out and so far successful, and yeah, you can breathe for a minute here.
Yep, I took a couple days off, but then on Sunday I was bored out of my mind, so I started working on that From Software script.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know what to do.
Now, with those, is that going to be like a review, or are you going to do like a storytelling of what happens throughout the games?
I'm going to talk about the lore a little bit, but it's mostly going to be talking about the gameplay, because that's what's important about those games for me.
Okay. That's fair. I wasn't sure which direction you were going to take that.
No, it's going to be talking about like the games, the gameplay, what it's like to play them, the bosses, stuff like that.
Okay. Cool. Um I do have to give a little bit of an update on this podcast. We had our most listens we've ever had in a single week last week. So that was pretty sweet. Great. I mean, it may be a fluke, and this week we may not have nearly as many, but it was good to see that, like, I mean, it had been like over a year since we had achieved as many listens as we did, and then we surpassed that by I think like 35, something like that. So it was kind of nice. It was nice to see like a new peak on the little like chart of weekly listens. So that was kind of cool. Guess people are liking it.
Good. Great.
And I think at some point Mike and Brian are going to have to like battle it out for who's the biggest fan of Breakroom Nachos. I get a phone call every Monday when Brian's done listening, talking to me about it. So you hear that, Mike? You better step your game up, because Brian's coming for you.
Whichever one of you buys a billboard to advertise our podcast first wins.
Yeah, I'm behind you on that. I'll give you that. Yep. That's it. So you guys know what you got to do. I will say, Mike, if you don't want to necessarily put up a billboard, if you tattoo Breakroom Nachos across your stomach and take another picture like the one I sent to Mack and let me post that for everyone to see, that would also give you the W.
I'll take that.
Yeah, right? I mean, a stomach tattoo and another pic that incredible that can get posted publicly. Yeah, that's a real win right there. So, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be a billboard. We would appreciate it, but either one will work. So you guys figure out what you want to spend your money on.
Give us a billboard.
Yeah. Billboards. What's
Did you have any more notes about my video?
That was pretty much it. Although I do like that you did go into you did go in and you talked about the like the artwork of it for a while, and kind of went away from just straight storytelling for a minute there. And I mean, obviously you still talked about how the artwork related to the story, but it was cool that you touched on that and didn't just go straight storytelling. So that was cool.
Yeah, so that was one of those things that, like I mentioned earlier, like I did my best to like stay as on topic as possible, but that was one of those things that I wanted to talk about, even though it wasn't super related to like the overall point of the video. And I'm glad I did, because it's something I think is really cool about Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, there you go. It stuck out to me as someone who, again, doesn't know anything about Chainsaw Man. It was interesting to hear you like bring that up. And especially, was it like something with like crawling out of a corpse or something? Was that part?
The first panel I talked about was one where Denji was kind of framed by the corpse of someone he killed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it was kind of cool that you talked about like the art aspect of it too, and kind of how that plays into the story, not just, hey, I like the way this looks, you know?
Yeah, well, I think as someone who's, read a lot of graphic novels and manga, like art style is kind of like an underrated, super important part of storytelling. Like there are art styles that work for one series that wouldn't work for another. Like, One Piece's art style wouldn't work for Chainsaw Man, just as Chainsaw Man's art style wouldn't work for One Piece. And I think it's super interesting to explore that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just going to say, you kind of brought up something, you talking about art style and One Piece. Now that you're doing your hair a little different, are you going to have to come up with a new Jolly Roger variation?
I mean, it's not that different.
I know, but I don't know. I know you're on what, like number 5 now? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know if this was what brings up number 6. It's as high as I can count. After that, you're gonna have to tell me what style you're on. So,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
but no, I don't think there's any real reason to adjust it for this minor of a change. But
right
yeah,
on.
I don't know. I guess like I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of the creative process behind that video still.
Yeah, go for it.
A lot of people ask me, and you'll see how this is related in a minute. A lot of people ask me, at least other people who work in kind of the creative field, ask me why or what editing softwares I use. And then they, the secondary question is, why do you use that? Especially from people who are in the video industry or know a lot about it. And not necessarily in a like, why are you using that? But just, everybody has a reason for why they choose whatever software they use, and I do too. Obviously, I use the Adobe software suite, which the software suite refers to a bunch of different programs. I use Audition to record the podcast. I use Premiere for most of my video editing. I use Photoshop for making my thumbnails, and I use After Effects for graphics work. And the main reason that I use the Adobe software suite is that I really like how easily you're able to switch between all the different programs in a very seamless way, depending on what you're trying to do. So, the thing that the way that I'll explain that is, when you make something graphics wise in Photoshop, if I was using a different editing software, I would need to export that graphic as a PNG or a JPEG or whatever.
Yeah.
And then bring it into the editing program and, work with it from there. The thing that I adore about Adobe's software suite is that you don't have to export it. You can just import the entire project file and use it within Premiere.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so with this video in particular, I did a lot of going back and forth between different, the different softwares, especially going into After Effects. And for anyone who wouldn't know or has no reason to know, After Effects is the a primary way that you can create graphic animations in the Adobe software suite. So it allows you to better utilize you can do 3D cameras and manipulate 3D objects. You can animate using keyframes and adjust them on a Bezier graph, which you can do in Premiere, but not nearly as easily. You can do something like adding expressions to animations in order to make them act differently. And I can actually use the podcast as a great example of that. In the video version of our podcast, the Breakroom Nachos logo kind of wiggles back and forth.
Yeah.
That is not something if I were to do that in Premiere, there wouldn't really be an easy way to do that. I would have to create a bunch of animation keyframes of it wiggling back and forth manually. But what I did instead was I took it into After Effects. I went into the position variable, and I created an expression, a wiggle expression. And that expression has two variables, a frequency and magnitude variable that, the frequency changes how often it wiggles, and the magnitude changes by how much it wiggles. And so instead of individually creating a bunch of keyframes that I cannot later adjust, I just found a frequency and magnitude that I liked and set them as good. And that's all I did. And then I import that entire project into episodes of Breakroom Nachos, and I just play it over and over.
Nice.
And so
I was
sorry,
just going to
say something?
not that I can speak to the validity of anything that you just said, but I will say that even just that little touch added to the podcast videos on YouTube, I don't know, not that I don't usually listen on YouTube very often. But the few times that I have, sometimes I'll throw it up on my TV because I'll just stream YouTube through my TV. But it's somehow
it's just that extra little touch.
Yeah, it's infinitely better than just a static image.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that strength of a medium that we've talked about before. The strength of video media is how, you can visualize things. And so if you're making a video, and not to say that everything needs to be moving constantly like you're fucking appealing to 5-year-old ADHD kids, but in general with video, you don't want things to be still because video is a motion-based medium. So,
right.
When I created, the look of our video podcast, I knew I didn't want it to just sit there. I knew I had to come up with something. So that basic wiggle is what I came up with that just, it changes it to make it so much better, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. It's amazing what that little touch does.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why I use the Adobe software suite, because I can so easily add those little touches. And rather than having to, export it as its own individual file, and then, if I have to make a change, I have to re-export it and re-add it into the file, I can just change it in After Effects, and that change will immediately be reflected in Premiere.
Nice.
And so I had to do that a lot for this Chainsaw Man video, an absurd amount. I don't think I've ever needed to create so many After Effects compositions for one video ever. And the main reason for that is because, Chainsaw Man is a manga. It does not currently have an anime to speak of at all. There's one coming, but it doesn't exist now. So when I wanted to create a Chainsaw Man video, one of my biggest fears was that it would be boring visually because, you know, my main way of showing what I'm talking about is to have like the part of the manga that I'm talking about and having it like slowly zoom into it. Like that's the primary way that I am capable of showing what I'm talking about. So when I decided to make this video, I knew I had to come up with a way to make it visually interesting within the constraints of manga. And, you know, I'm not an animator, so I can't like animate those scenes myself. So what I did, and obviously this is something that you saw in the video, was I found ways to animate the manga panels in really simple ways, like having part of the image move without having the entire thing move. And like I especially did it for a lot of character reveals. Like when I revealed Denji as like a chainsaw devil, I had like him kind of breathing as this animation. When I had the part where it revealed the katana hybrid, I had him like his blades moving a little bit, like little touches like that, so that, you know, like I do with the podcast, it's not just still.
Yeah.
And even like that entire intro sequence that I created after like the door part in the very beginning, like nearly every part of that is animated in some way, using that little bit of animation. And so that's all stuff that I could not do in Premiere. Like it's manipulating keyframes. It's masking out the parts that I need to move and then clone brushing the areas that are left blank underneath them. It's you know, replicating that. It's, you know, using the puppet tool, which doesn't even exist in Premiere. And then for like the movement animations, you can just really easily add a motion blur onto it that just changes everything in After Effects that you cannot do in Premiere. And you know, After Effects has never been my forte. It was something I learned how to do in high school, but it's not something that my high school taught. Like I learned it because there was something I wanted to do with it, and I, you know, had a pretty bare minimum knowledge of how to work it, and I still knew more about it than most of my peers.
Nice.
But, you know, throughout the process of making my videos, I've continually learned more and more about it, and I learned so much about using After Effects this time around that I feel like it made the video so much better, and I'm so happy with how a lot of those animations turned out, especially because like I was working on that script for so long that a lot of the parts that I created, I had, you know, written and thought about many, many months in advance. And so to then be able to like see them realized and have them look exactly as, or even better than I had planned, like it was so good. It was such a fun process. I had so much fun creating those little animations.
Good. Hearing you talk about, you know, putting animations in and things like that. Have you ever watched, I'm sure you're at least familiar, but have you watched any of the documentaries by Ken Burns?
Yes.
For those of you who don't know Ken Burns,
actually, no, sorry to cut you off. I don't think I've ever actually watched anything he's made. I just know of the Ken Burns effect.
Okay, that's what made me think of it.
Yes.
Hearing you talk about that, he's done a lot of great documentaries. His baseball one is fantastic. He's done World War II, the Civil War. I don't know, that just off the top of my head, those are the ones I think of. But he really does a great job where it'll be like a still image on the screen, and as he's talking over it, for lack of a better word, I'll call it the camera, but the animation, I guess, is the proper term. But he'll either like, it'll zoom in on, it'll like slowly keep zooming in on one area of a still image, or maybe it'll like pan across the image or something. And it's very interesting. I'm sure you know more about the Ken Burns effect than I do, but yeah, that's instantly what came to mind as you were talking about that.
Well, it's an extremely basic thing to do, but it's one of those things, like the reason it's named after him is a lot of people weren't doing it before. Like, you know, this ties into what we've already talked about. Like, it's a visual media. You want to see things moving. You don't want things just to be sitting there. And so when it comes to like documentaries, especially older documentaries, a lot of not necessarily older documentaries, but documentaries that cover older subjects, like a lot of times you don't have access to like a video of something happening. All you have are photos. And so when you're making a video, you don't really want that to just be sitting there. And so Ken Burns, pioneered this tactic, and the word camera was actually a great thing to do, because a great word to use, because a lot of his documentaries are really old, and back in the day this wasn't done through editing. This was done as like a physical thing. He would actually take a camera and film a photograph and slowly zoom into it or slowly pan across it, like you said.
Oh, that's really cool. It's been a while since I've sat and watched one, so I haven't even really thought about it, but
so that's how he achieved that effect. I do it all in editing, and most people do these days, but in the early days, that was kind of the only way to do it, was to do it using a camera.
Nice. Well, that's really cool then. That actually is even cooler.
Yeah. And that's why it's named after him, because no one was doing it at the time, and it kind of revolutionized like documentary creation, because you don't watch documentaries that don't do that anymore, because it's the industry standard.
Yeah.
And it's something that I do in my videos too. Like when there's just a shot where I'm like talking about like a certain line in the manga, I will, highlight that area, throw it into the editing, into the timeline, and then have it slowly zoom into that section, or slowly zoom out of that section, or pan out of that section. It's something that's part of my process as well, because, I don't want things just sitting there. It's not something I do when I green screen myself onto the manga, because, at that point I'm moving on top of it. But when it's just the manga panel itself, I always have it moving.
Right. Yeah. When you're green screened, the attention is on you.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Nice. But yeah, I get that. I can imagine how that could be a little tricky with,
film.
something like manga, where you're talking about, illustrations rather than, like an anime. Like you can't show like a clip or whatever, you can't talk over, a scene or whatever without it being that still image.
Yeah. So I use that kind of Ken Burns effect just for like throughout the entire video. But that was my challenge for this video, was kind of figuring out how I can make it visually interesting, despite the fact that I didn't have an anime to work with. And I think I did a pretty good job for the most part.
I agree. I think you did as well. And I like that I had something to contribute to you talking about editing your video.
Yeah, I'm surprised you like knew. I mean, I'm sure you didn't. Not sure, but it sounds like you didn't know about like that it had like a name, but you knew about that process.
Oh no, I definitely knew it was the Ken Burns effect.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
I'm a pretty big Ken Burns fan. I really like his documentaries. I don't know the last time I watched baseball start to finish. But Ken Burns baseball is great, and I remember when that came out, and usually every year around like the start of baseball season, they show it on like PBS, because I think PBS like produced it, or maybe it just originally was shown on PBS. But yeah, that's great. And like you were saying, talking about like older subject matter. I think he did one on Vietnam. I haven't seen that. But like, World War II, that was in the 40s. Like there's video, but there's not a ton of video. Baseball, covers like the start
the
of
entire American history, really.
Yeah. I mean, you're like the beginning origins of baseball up through, I want to say the original series, which was 9 parts. It called them 9 innings, like a baseball game. I want to say the 9th inning covered up through like maybe like 1990, 95, something like that. And then he did release an update. He put out a 10th inning, but even that is probably 10 years old. So he's probably due to do another one. But yeah, there's not a ton of video until really like the second half of it. And, like the Civil War, obviously, like there's like no video to show. It's just.
No.
Yeah. So to do such a good job on documentaries like that, he always manages to capture my attention. So.
Yeah, he's he pioneered a process that is very, very popularly used today that fed into my own videos. Like, I learned about the Ken Burns effect in school from my teacher while working on some news thing, I'm sure. And it's something that, is still useful to me today, because if I, not to say that I wouldn't do it if I didn't like know the name of the effect or whatever, like it's entirely possible that I would have done it. But, I made the conscious thought, and it is like that extra like laborious part of it. It's not like a huge, it's like a 30-second edit, but like that's per every manga panel that I pull up for the entire video. 30 seconds is probably pushing it, but that's not the point.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that, like, I made the conscious thought to do it for a specific reason that, like, he kind of pioneered.
Nice.
And it all comes down to the fact that video is a visual media. You want things to be moving. Just because you're showing photos in a video doesn't mean you want the viewer to have the same effect as if they were just looking at a photo. You want them to feel like they're watching a video.
Right. Yeah, because I feel like, and I mean, aside from it just being kind of, like we said, kind of boring to just have, a still image that you're looking at while someone's talking. If you did have that, aside from it being boring, your eyes are going to wander around the screen and you're going to be looking for other things. And I feel like you kind of lose the audience.
You do. And some like a good directors, and I don't know where I heard this. I'm sure it's just something that was taught to me, but like good directors direct their audience as well. Like they direct their eye line.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can achieve through the Ken Burns effect, because if you're zooming into a particular part of the image, they're going to focus on that part of the image.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. This is it not necessarily off topic, because it's on topic with having your eyes drawn to a certain area, but to bring this into something that I find super relatable, I collect sports memorabilia.
Yeah.
And people do really cool stuff when they get things like framed, like a framed photograph, or they'll, frame a jersey or something. And a lot of times when they have it done, they'll through like one of the, like a website that I'll look at, or, like a Facebook group for collectors or whatever. Like I look at these and they're so cool and they have such a cool item, but the way that they have it framed up, they throw so much extra crap on it. It detracts from what the actual thing is that you want to be looking at.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Like a prime example is I've seen this a lot. People will get a jersey framed up and it'll be like a signed jersey. And that's what you want people to look at. And then like in the bottom corner, they'll throw, obviously it's a big frame because, it's a big item, but they'll they'll have it matted up all nice. And they'll have an 8x10 photo in each bottom corner. And then it'll have some sort of, team related graphic up at the top of it. And I'm just like,
it's too much.
you spent all of this money and resources into this really cool item, and you're having people's attention drawn to like a $5 8x10 photo that you threw in the corner of it. Like, I don't know. It less is more a lot of times.
It's a big thing with like YouTube thumbnails too. Like some people make their, something you have to do with your thumbnails is to make them busy enough that they're engaging, but not so busy that it loses focus and like it's too busy to like actually know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Which is why like something I was taught in school was like, if you're making something graphically, whether it be a thumbnail or just, something you're going to toss in your video, back up from the computer, walk a few feet back and take a look at it. Cause when you're viewing it at full screen, like as big as it'll ever be, you can add as many tiny details as you want. And you're going to notice it cause you're fucking looking at a giant version of it. But like, when you see how small a YouTube thumbnail actually is, how much like real estate do you really have there?
Right.
And so that's something I do. Like I minimize the shit out of my thumbnails and be like, okay, can I still tell what's going on here? And my thumbnails are extremely minimal, and I see like over the top thumbnails all the time, and the video doesn't have a ton of views, and it's like, well, yeah, no wonder people see their thumbnail and like, there's too much going on here. I don't know what the fuck this video is. I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah. I'll have to send you a picture of the last autograph I got. It's a large photo, and I haven't had it framed yet. But it's gonna be a super simple frame job, just like probably a plain black frame with just like a simple like double matte around it, but just the like the color contrast between like the way the autograph came out in like a yellow colored Sharpie on like a black surface. It really stands out. That's what you want to look at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think visually you'll like the way that it turned out. And sometimes there's really cool photos and I'm like, God, that photo is awesome. I'd love to have a signed copy of that. But then you're like, there's no real good spot to have it autographed. Like,
yeah, I gotcha.
If there isn't a big enough area that's like at least the same color, it just doesn't look right.
Yeah, totally.
But
it's such a fascinating subject to talk about, like visual stuff like that.
Yeah. Obviously I'm not into like the editing process, but
well, I mean, it feeds into like your marketing knowledge too. Like it's a huge thing for marketers to know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's one thing that I've always found really interesting about advertising, especially like 1980s like print ads. It was like a big thing to have, I guess to bring it into the Zoomer generation. A lot of print ads were the equivalent of like dark mode, where it would just be like basic white text over like a black background. That was super popular. And then
it stands out so well.
It does. It really does. But for whatever reason, you don't see that nearly as much. And it's now this, the standard has kind of gone back to, like dark text on a light colored background. But, yeah, those vintage ads always were really cool to me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Nice.
What an interesting episode. What a good discussion.
Yeah. No, I like this. We didn't just sit here and bust balls on each other the whole time, but we had a really good conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I've been saying, I definitely had a lot to talk about in terms of the video. It just wasn't anything I wanted to talk about before the video was actually out.
I gotcha. And I knew that was the case. And so I didn't I didn't bring a ton of new topics to the table this week. But I'm glad that I'm happy that I was able to interject at least some well, I'll call it interesting. That's to be seen. But I at least had something to contribute to you and your video and editing talks. So yeah.
Well, you know, a lot of the stuff that like goes into video production, not only like does it overlap again with like a lot of your marketing knowledge, but a lot of the stuff that, you know, I know about and that I make conscious decisions about when it comes to my videos is stuff that is incredibly obvious when you say it, but is not always thought about if you don't have a reason to.
Right. Yeah.
So I always think it's really interesting to talk about those little things that like not everybody needs to know or needs to think about.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things in the video world that may appear accidental or may appear like, oh, that worked out really well, but it's like, no, that was entirely intentional. They did that for a reason. And so I like to talk about, you know, what decisions I made intentionally with my own videos.
Yeah. Nice. Good job.
All right, bye, losers.